Welcome to Survival Theory. Beautiful spring day, and I came out here today to tell you about an important survival tree for survival, SHTF, foraging, and just admiring. That is the eastern redbud, or the Judas tree. It grows all over the world. Here in America, it's the Cercis canadensis. Where I am specifically, it's known as the Texas redbud, different subspecies. It's a beautiful, delicate tree. A lot of uses pertaining to survival. So let's get busy. So I'll start with the part you're going to notice the most in the spring. That's the pink to purple flowers all over the bare branches. No leaves, just flowers. So here's a branch from the redbud tree. Early in the spring there are no leaves, but there are flowers on the bare stem. Can you see that? It's beautiful. The flowers are edible. I like to check for spiders or bugs. But when they first form and before they bloom, before the bees can pollinate with them and all that, they're very sweet. Usually a lot of the sweetness is taken away by the bees and other insects once they open. But even then, they're not bad. The leaves here, well, all year round the leaves are edible. But when they first bloom or bud, and they're soft and tender, best time to eat those. And what I like about the redbud, it's not bitter. A lot of plants have great nutritional value, yada yada yada, but they're bitter. These are actually pretty good. Pretty good. Now, especially when these flowers are freshly open, or right before they open, and they're pretty dang sweet. So, you got edible leaves and flowers. What else is this good for? Now the small limbs and the bark from the eastern redbud can be used for weaving, basket weaving, and other projects. Very flexible, very strong, great for weaving. So there is something to weave with out here, and that's the redbud. The bark is excellent for that. So are the small limbs. They're very flexible. Look at that. That's very flexible. It's not breaking, it's not snapping. So the small limbs and the bark is great for weaving. Another edible part about this tree, everywhere you see a flower, after the flower drops off, beans will start to grow there, sprout there. Bean pods or legumes. They're edible raw. When they're young and soft, they're kind of a purplish color to complement the flowers, dark purple. But they're edible, and when they're soft, they're easy to eat. And they will hang on the tree long after they ripen. They ripen like in October, November. They'll stay on the tree, and if you don't have any bad storms or high winds that year, they'll be on the tree even next spring. So they're easy to collect. Matter of fact, I see some. Let's go check those out. Now I can see quite a few hanging right up there. And I see one hanging right here still from last year. Another one hanging right there. They're brown and dry now because these are from last spring. See if we can get some seeds out of these. So these seed pods, real old, they're thin, they're dried out. You can see the tiny seeds I got out. These are pretty dry, but they're still edible, and they'll give you some protein. So ideally you want to get these before they dry out. So these old seed pods from last year that are still hanging on the tree, they're good for scavenging minute amounts of protein out of the dried seed. But now when these are fresh, or during the summer, when they've been on the tree for a couple months, they're 25% protein and 8 to 10% fat, plus all the trace vitamins and minerals, things like that. So these are actually pretty good for you, a good source of protein. And you can throw them on your salads, you can chop them up. I think the Native Americans, formerly known as Indians, used to take those beans and throw them on the coals, and then they would take them out, take the seeds out, and eat them like that. But very nutritious and delicious. Speaking of formerly known as Indians, they would take the charcoal, the coals, out of the fire when they were burning redbud tree, and that was their preferred war paint. It's almost a pure carbon when it burns, more than any other tree as far as I know. So it makes a great face paint. It makes a great paint for teepees and things like that. So it was used quite a bit as far as the charcoal. It's black, very black, and because it's almost pure carbon, boy, it just works great. Another awesome characteristic of the redbud tree is you can take the inner bark and the root and extract the chemicals from that, with alcohol, letting it stay in alcohol, that kind of thing, a tincture, so to speak. And that tincture will, I'm not going to say cure, but let's just say it'll help you with cold, flu, coughing, vomiting, diarrhea, things like that. Has medicinal value. Remember that, medicinal value. Edible and medicinal. So the redbud tree is great for the beginning forager. If you're just starting out in survival, foraging, looking for wild edibles, this is a good one. There's no lookalikes that are poisonous or anything like that. So just remember these leaves. They do get bigger. These are new leaves. But you can see the heart-shaped leaf. It's edible. And the flowers are one of a kind. Small purple flowers on the branch. They don't, come out from the leaves or anything. Just a bare branch with flowers on it. Then the leaves start to come out. Then the flowers are gone. And then you got the legumes, which are also edible. That was a good leaf. A bit more flavor than most of them. See, that's a fresh flower bunch. The fresh flowers are really good. So, good for the beginning forager. Of course, in a survival situation, look for the redbud tree. Oh, that flower was, that leaf was almost romaine tasting. That was weird. Anyway, so keep your eye out for eastern redbud. Good survival tree. So wherever you are in the world, keep your eye out for the redbud tree. And this spring and this summer, make sure you experiment with it. Maybe cook it different ways. Throw it in a salad. Weave a basket with the bark or twigs. Do something with it. Get familiar with it as a survival tool. Put it in your toolbox of survival. Well, thanks for watching Survival Theory. Share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. These trees do not get huge. 30 foot tall is huge. I usually see them about 20 foot tall. They get kind of bushy. Of course, the flowers are beautiful, yada, yada, yada. Plant some on your property or put one in a big pot, let it grow. That way you'll have a great decoration for your property or your porch or whatever that has more than one use. How do I look? Do I have any redbud in me? Oh, gross. Welcome to Survival Theory. Today I want to talk about, I should script these things.